Picture this. While all the other people on this Monday morning are dragging themselves out of bed, are filling themselves up with coffee and dragging themselves to a job that they hate, you get to wake up without an alarm. You get to bounce out of bed with no stress because your bank account and your other accounts have enough money so that you can live the life you truly want for the rest of your life without having anything holding you back. That is financial freedom. And despite what media is saying out there, and I know it's a pinch sometimes, and some of us are having a hard time with groceries and other things like that, so this seems really far in the distance. But I would like you to think, you've got to think in the future in order to get to the future that you want. And so there are a lot of Joes and Janes, average people out there that are hitting that millionaire status. And so if you're trying to get there, let's discuss what they might be doing differently than what you are doing. Now, let's say you are at that millionaire status, but that's not quite what you need to get to financial freedom. Then maybe relooking at some of these strategies that have worked for you will be a good push forward to getting to where you really want to get to, which is financial freedom. So in this video, we're going to have some actionable steps. We're going to talk about what you could do, mindset changes, things like that can really get you to that next level that you're looking for. So just as a hello, if you have not been here before, I'm Lisa. I'm a financial advisor. I've been helping people for over 14 years, helping them get to financial freedom, whatever that means for them, whether that means millionaire status or not. For some people, that's not actually what it means. So, okay, so let's start off with number one, which is that mindset shift. Now, I've done a video already on this called Millionaire Mindset. You're happy for you to take a look. I'll put that in the description below so you can find that video. But there is an extraordinary amount of things we can do with our mindset. If you see me looking off here, I'm looking at my notes. So just FYI, I'm not looking at somebody else in the room. But real changes really begin with your mind. And so it kind of goes back to that opener that I said. A lot of people are saying, well, I can't afford groceries. I'm having a hard time paying rent right now. The economy is not the place that I need it to be. I'm not getting paid the wages I need to. How can you tell me that I'm trying to get to financial freedom or really any kind of millionaire status? How dare you tell me that? Well, if you come at it with that mindset, you're kind of setting out the groundwork for not hitting it. But if you say, look, this is just a period in time that I'm having some difficulties, and I'm going to work smarter, not harder sometimes. I might have to work harder other times. And I'm going to put myself in a mindset that I am going to get to that place, that I am doing the right things to get there. That little shift makes a huge difference in your journey. If you don't think you can get there, you won't. It's just like running a mile or running a marathon. If you think you can't do it, then you won't do it, right? And so this belief is the first step, and you've got to embrace those opportunities when they come along, but also those setbacks, and really look in the mirror and go, what can I take away from this? What can I grow from this? How can I do better next time? Okay. So we already kind of talked about this, but number two is seizing opportunities. Now people say, well, what does that mean? Does that mean looking at trends and things like that? Yes, that could be it. Obviously there's a lot of stories out there that people see a trend or see something that's missing in the world that we need, that is going to take us in a different direction, and they develop that product, they work on that. Look at Sarah Blakely and Spanx. I talk about her a lot because that was an area that women didn't really realize that they needed to have more comfortable security in their undergarments. And she came out with something that is a lot more comfortable and a lot more reasonable and can go under pants. That was her whole idea, is that she took pantyhose, because people would wear pantyhose under pants because it sucked them in and make them look, lean and thin and streamlined. And she said, well, what if we don't want the pantyhose in the bottom? And she cut the feet off. That was her beginning thought process. And she did it because of necessity for her. She was a businesswoman. I think she was selling copiers and going around trying to sell copiers while she was in professional suits. She wanted to look a certain way, but she wanted to be comfortable, because if you've ever been a kind of a salesperson going from office to office, it's very uncomfortable, I'm sure, standing there in your suit all day with your heels, and at least one part of your wardrobe can be comfortable, right? So you definitely want to, think outside the box when you're seizing opportunities. But is everybody going to become Sarah Blakely? No. And not everybody wants to become somebody like that. Not everybody wants to run a huge company or become, $100 million in the bank kind of people. While that would be lovely, some people just say, look, I just want to get to a point that I can stop doing this job I hate. That to me is really what most people want, is stop doing the things I don't want to do anymore. And so, how can you do that? Well, if an opportunity comes along, you take a calculated look at the risk and you seize that opportunity if it makes sense. Whether that means investing, whether that means, buying a second property, buying your own home, buying a business, buying into a business, that kind of thing. Maybe that's the power of networking. Maybe getting out there, really building your network, using social media to build relationships with people can make a huge difference in your overall success track. Because if you come at things with a very authentic way about you, and you come to want to learn and be one with the other people you're interacting with, they can sense that and they can see the genius in you, because all of us have our own geniuses, right? So they can see that genius that maybe they need in their company, and you get to move to a job that you like better. There's a lot of rewards for taking calculated risks. I'm not telling you to take crazy risks. People can get in a lot of trouble. Heard many bad stories about people taking risks that they haven't thought through. And you do need to take the time to think through, but you also need to seize those opportunities when they come to you. I would tell you my whole story of how I even got into this industry was seizing opportunities when they came to me. I did not know anything about this world when I started 14 years ago, and now I have a very successful practice. I'm very happy, and I think we're very much on the road and hopefully close to financial freedom. So I think that you do have to take those opportunities. I was scared out of my mind, and we had to take a couple of steps back in order to make this work, but it was worth it. And I love what I do. I love helping my clients. I love making these videos. I love helping people understand that finance doesn't have to be scary. It's about really embracing the life you really want. So, all right, number 3 is diversifying income. So people say, well, I work a job. What are you talking about? Well, diversifying income does not mean, you have to have a second job, or you've got to, be like one of those people that go to Amazon and can do all this stuff, and Amazon sends you a check for $3,000 a month. I've heard those ads too. I have no idea how they work. I don't know if they're a good idea or not. But what I'm saying is that you need to have money making money. And whether that means investing or keeping it in some kind of high yield savings account or something, your money needs to help make you money. And whether that means you invest in a company and you get dividends from that company, that's money making money for you. Whether that means investing in the markets, whether that means getting a U.S. Treasury that's providing some kind of interest to you, or a high yield savings account or something like that, your money needs to help generate money. And that could be a bunch of different things. You could do all of those different things, and that's diversifying your income. Does that mean you're immediately taking income now? No, but it also means that your money is building on itself. And so diversifying all those different things makes sense. You could also decide that you want to do a side hustle, or you want to, begin investing in a different way to provide a different source of income, because there are different ways to invest, obviously. Some are more risky than others. So you really do want to look into diversifying your streams of income, but also that doesn't mean you have to take the income now. It means your money needs to generate money for you, and that is an income source for you. Number 4 is smart money management. This is the piece that nobody wants to do. Okay? They don't want to hear about budgeting, they don't want to hear about debt management. They just want it all to go away. And that's not how winners get built. It just isn't. You cannot have debt just go away, or not pay attention to your expenses. It doesn't work that way. Now, I have said multiple times on this channel that you do not have to go and create a budget. You don't. Oftentimes, I don't think that works for people. I think they create it, it looks so great on paper, and then 3 months later, they've forgotten what their budget looks like. But I do think you need to understand your expenses, and I think you need to understand how much you're saving. If you don't know how much you're saving each month, and you don't have a ballpark of what you're spending your money on, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And that's budgeting, but it doesn't have to be that traditional write it down, do an Excel spreadsheet kind of thing. And so you do need to have an idea of how to manage your money. You need to understand your savings. You need to understand your interest rates that you're getting. You need to understand your rate of return that you're getting on things. You need to understand your debt management. How long will it take to pay off that student loan, to possibly pay off your home, to get rid of that car loan? Car loans are a huge source of issue for people because it's money going into a depreciating asset for most of us, right? And they say as soon as you drive your car off the lot, it goes down, $5,000, or, they make up a number. But it does. It depreciates as soon as it goes off the lot. And we're paying a loan of, sometimes 7-8% now, I've seen with some clients. Is that worth having? Probably not. How do we get that paid down? How do we not continually having these debt payments so that if we need to go small, let's say we take a calculated risk and it doesn't pan itself out, well, then we can go small, right? You need to have that flexibility to be able to live a nice life, but then to be able to go small if you need to. And that's the thing that people don't talk to you about, is how can you go small if you need to? Maybe that means not having a home mortgage. Maybe that means not having high rent. Maybe that means, which isn't technically debt, but it's kind of you're paying somebody else's debt off, right, when you're paying rent. Means not having an auto loan, means trying to get rid of your student debt. That kind of stuff are really holding you back from financial freedom and from getting to that millionaire status if that's what your goal is. So smart money management really is the linchpin to this. You can change your mindset, you can do all the other things I talked to you about, but if you don't understand how your money is working and how it's working for you and how in some areas it's working against you, I hate to say it, that's the linchpin. That is the key. And if you don't understand that, that's a problem. It's a huge problem. And I often will hear people say, very brilliant women in particular, and I don't know why they say this, get somebody to help you with your money. And I think that that's fine. I mean, I obviously help lots of women out there with their money, but that doesn't mean that I don't want you to be involved. You have to be involved. And even if I was to stand next to you all day long, it is still your money. You are the one in charge of what you're putting on the credit card, what you're putting in your savings account, what your student loan looks like. I can't do that stuff for you. And so you need to embrace that is building muscle. I say that all the time, but it's true. It's building that muscle that you will be able to be lean, fit, and be profitable for yourself. All right. And number 5, learning and growing. Now, I have taken on, it was funny, I just did a kind of a character assessment. I don't quite know how to describe it, but I did a maybe personality discuss. I don't know. It was basically one of those tests that you take, take different questions, and then they tell you what's your strengths and weaknesses and that kind of thing. And they're of course nice and don't say this is a weakness. They say it's something that you can work on, but maybe your strength is overpowering that. But I know it's a little bit of a weakness, and that's okay. We all have weaknesses, right? And one of mine was learning. That I was very, my strength is I'm a learner. And that made me feel really good because many years ago, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I guess not that many years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I heard a gentleman named Tom Bilyeu. He's got a very popular podcast out there. He was one of the founders and creators of Quest bars and Quest snack foods and all that stuff. And they sold it for a huge amount of money. And now he's building another empire with his continuing education and helping people with that kind of millionaire mindset, building a business kind of idea. And his podcast is fantastic. If you haven't listened to it, he's really interesting. He comes at things in a very different way than a lot of other podcast hosts do. But he said, my identity that I have is I am a learner. And I thought that's so smart, because if your identity is you're a learner, that means it's not that I'm the smartest in the room, I'm the dumbest in the room, I'm the most successful, if it's learning, that I can totally control. I can control my learning. And I think what we have as a problem in general is that most people don't want to learn about this area in their lives, which is finance. And I have found the ones that do want to learn and take that on and embrace it and say, I'm a learner, feed me, I'm ready to go. I want to know. The ones that ask a lot of questions, the ones that ask for articles, the ones that come back and have questions when I send out articles to clients. Those are the ones that do the best, because they're constantly trying to feed in some knowledge. Are they doing it all the time? No. But they are constantly trying to do something different and learn something new all the time. And I have found that has made them very successful. They have done better than my other clients have in terms of saving and getting to their goals. And rather than the people who just hand it over to me and say, do what you need to do, I trust you, I love you, thank you for doing this, those people don't do as well. They just don't. I have just noticed from working with hundreds of clients over the years, this is the type of client that does well. The ones that want to learn, the ones that want to have the discussion, and not the discussion where they're telling me what they think about some political thing or whatever. The discussion where they want to hear another side of view. They want to hear what I've been reading about, what I might agree with or disagree with when it comes to money out there. What articles have I been reading? What could they be looking at? What books should they be looking at? That kind of thing. So I have found that leveraging technology, it's so easy to Google finance articles. It's so easy to go on Yahoo Finance and find something to read and try to digest. And giving yourself some grace that if you don't understand it, it's okay. Try again. Try a different article. Try something else that you can start to absorb, because you will start to absorb it over time. I promise you that. That's what I had to do when I started this industry, because as I told you, I had no background in this. I was an English lit major and an ex-teacher, like elementary school teacher, not finance teacher, elementary school teacher. I had no background in this. You just have to keep absorbing and learning. So with that, I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some different actionable things to do and to think about, even if your first action is just to look at your credit card statement once a week. That will make huge changes. Huge changes. I always talk about that and no one ever listens to me, but it makes such a big difference in your life. I got better at money management for myself when I started looking at my credit card every single week. It's huge. So, that could be your first step, and then maybe you find some other steps. If you want some ideas, feel free to reach out and say, I've done this, and what else do I need to move forward with? This is what I help clients with all the time. So you can start at any point in your journey. It doesn't matter if you're 22 or you're 55. Just start. There's no too old. There's no too young. Just get going if this is really important to you, which I hope financial freedom is, because it should be. So with that, I hope that you found this to be helpful, as I said. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And we will continue to pound away at the basics that can get you so much farther ahead. So with that, take care, have a great one, and we will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.